we know how the internet is. If you ever search for something or mention something, they just start popping up like mushrooms everywhere, different kinds and all that stuff. But I didn't realize there was so many. It's like anything else. If someone designs something that's functional and works, then they start coming out of the woodwork. Well, I can make that, I can do that. All we have to do is change that a little. We can change that a little and we can patent it different. We can come in and we can make just a few little changes and make the top a little rectangle instead of square or whatever, and we can patent it. I don't know exactly how that works. That's the same way that they do with the Bible. That's why there's so many versions or perversions or whatever you want to call them. I know, as well as most other people know, that all the Bible, even the King James, it's translated. I think that's the closest one. The Authorized King James Version Bible, I think that's the closest one to the true scriptures that we'll probably ever find. And then, of course, you've got others that come in that change the wording and leave whole sentences and paragraphs out, just leave them out. I forget, I had read previously years ago that they have to change that book so much to recopyright it or whatever they do to them. And of course, it's like I say, it's like anything else. The King James Version, the Holy Bible, #1 seller, #1 bestseller in books. That's what I've heard. I don't dive into the selling of books and stuff, I don't know. But I'm just saying what I heard. So, if it's a #1 seller, common logic will tell you that every Tom, Dick, and Harry that has the ability to get in and dive in to get their share of it will definitely do that. So in order to do that, they're going to have to change something. If they didn't change the Bible, it would be just a copy of the original, but they have to change it. Well, let me tell you something. They have definitely picked the wrong book to start changing, because if they'll go to the end of Revelation and read the last couple of paragraphs, it's got some real good news for them. So they're flirting with disaster. It's just exactly like organic food. They come out several years back, and organic. Everything was organic, man. And I agree. I mean, that's the best, you know. I think it was Japan, pretty sure it was, that would pay extra money for produce with bug bites in it, because their way of thinking that if the bugs is eating it, then it ain't got poison on it, whatever, they'd pay more for that. Here, everything's got to be pristine and look picture perfect. I'm not buying that. That's got a bug bite on it or whatever. You know, a bug bite in a leaf. That's if that bothers people, then you know they need to. I don't know. I don't know what they need to do. I've sat and watched my mother take apples that would get off the trees and sit there and peel those apples and cut around worm holes and stuff like that. And she'd have another pail over here, and a lot of times the basket that she was throwing the cores and the peelings and the cutouts of worm holes and stuff like that, bug bites, whatever, in it would be fuller than her bowl that she was doing. But at the end of the day, when she got done, she had a big, nice bowl of apples. And you could just let them rot and let the worms finish them up. Or you can go buy you some apples that's been sprayed and fumigated and every day or two. Getting back to the organic part of it, everybody was after organic meat, organic chicken, organic eggs, free-range eggs, everything. You know the story. Well, it's hard to grow stuff organic. It's hard to, and merely impossible it would be to grow it on a scale large enough to feed the nations. So, in order for the food apparatus, the food companies, to get their share of that organic produce, they've got buddies in high places, I suppose. But then they set it where they could allow to spray so much pesticides, or maybe it was a so limited amount of the poisons was allowed in a solution or a dilution of water, whatever they mixed it with, to spray stuff, but yet still call it organic. That's a lie. It's not organic. I don't care what they say. Just because some alphabet stew organization comes up and says, well, we're going to allow so much poisons in something, and we can still consider it safe, and we'll allow you to call it organic, where you can dive in and get your little percentage of profit that you're taking away from somebody that's actually growing real organic and having to put 2 or 3 times the labor and work into it to come out with that organic food. They allow them to go ahead and spray the toxic chemicals and cocktails on the food and yet still call it organic. Fraud, bull crap is what it is. And that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. So now, when you want to go to the store and buy you some organics, the only difference you'll find will be the price. It'll be a lot higher, and you think it's organic. That's what I'm saying. The truth. The hardest thing that you'll find today is the truth. The truth. I have found one place that it's the best source of the truth that I can find, and it's called the Holy Bible. You'll find the truth there. And if you can't pull the truth out of that, and I'm not saying that everybody lies. I'm saying that it's hard to distinguish who is telling you the truth and who is lying to you. And as we know, there's good people. There's still a lot of good people out there. You got to know them. You got to really know them, or again, you'll be deceived. Deception. We know who the father of all deception and father of all lies is, right? Adam just handed it over to Lucifer. He just handed it over. Jesus come, died on a cross. He put it back in a motion that he settled it. We know where the end's at. We know the outcome of the end, what's going to happen in the end. But we don't know how long it's going to be from now till the end of things. I've thought several times, I said, when is the end? I mean, when will it be? It could be the day you take your last breath. That could be your end. Yep, that could be your end. There's a difference, though, in ending and rest. When people die, they say, well, they're dead, they've died. Well, it's just according. If their Savior is Jesus Christ, if they've accepted Jesus Christ, they're not dead. Their body, they're asleep. They call it asleep. It also says, be absent from the bodies, be present with the Lord. I've struggled and run that through my brain a million times. And then, of course, I can listen to what everybody else says. And then, of course, I become a parrot. I just repeat what they say. I like to get the facts. I like to iron the facts out, get them, dig them out yourself, which sometimes takes a while. You won't do it in a split second. It takes a while to get these facts together. Here a little, there a little. Search in the scriptures. Here you'll find them. Here, there, a little. In the Bible, it'll interpret itself. You get run across something you don't understand, you just keep searching because the answer's in there. You run across a lot of parables that Jesus made, and people say, well, I don't know what that means. Well, keep a reading because he'll tell you. he tells you what most of them mean. Hey, Lord. That's a fact. That's the way I see it. That's my belief, and I think I'm right. I guess I'm like everybody else. I think I'm right. But when it comes to the Bible, there's no question in my mind I'm right. You've got one Savior, and his name's Jesus Christ. That's it. No more. No more. Of course, you'll be presented with all kind of stuff and all kind of lies. Again, we know who the father of all lies is. He's the one that tried to boast himself up and build himself up with his pride to be above the creator of everything. Well, that didn't work out so well for him. That didn't work out so well for him. You know, just like I say, I know my ways is not God's ways. God's ways not my ways. His thoughts is way above my thoughts. But if I had to deal with something like the devil, like Lucifer, all I can say is his grace runs deep. And of course, this whole shebang in Genesis runs deep. It goes, you can dig in there, and I mean, it's pretty deep. And anyway, I can't explain it right. If I could, I'd be doing it, I guess. Sometimes I get on a roll. But as far as I'm concerned, it's truth. The Bible's true, and every word in it. I don't know the numbers, and I'm not even going to quote them, but there's several of them, of prophecies in the Bible. Well, like 80 to 80-something% of them is fulfilled exactly like the Bible said they'd be. And this Bible written hundreds of years, you know, before it happened. So you look at that and you think, well, if all those prophecies come true, have been fulfilled, why would you think that the rest of them won't be? That's not logical thinking, but I'll assure you they will. It'll happen. I don't know how it'll happen. I don't know which direction it'll come from, but I'll assure you that it'll happen. I might not be here, you might not be here when it does happen, but I'll assure you it will happen. And that's a fact. That's the way I feel about it. I think I'm right. And then you've got radicals that needs to get, they need to repent. They need to find Jesus Christ, what they need to do. I mean, I sometimes say that they're idiots. They've lost their mind. They've lost their way. They're blinded. Well, some are. For a while. I mean, I don't know how long, but something will wake them up, hopefully. You can't just go through life. Well, I guess you can, but it's not wise to go through life listening to what someone else tells you constantly. Sometimes you have to stand up and figure this out yourself. You have to do your due diligence. You have to search the scriptures. And the answers is in there. You can read a novel of Gone with the Wind or whatever you want to read, but one of the most important books that you'll ever come across is the Bible, the Holy Bible. Preferably, the King James, authorized King James Version. Sometimes, even with it, I think the God makes sure that stays true. I know there's enough in there to get the point across. I don't know if King James and his court played with any of the words in the Bible, or sometimes, how would you like to give the Bible today? We're going to let's say, for instance, we're going to make a translation, a new translation of the Bible. Let's say that who would you pick to? Well, I'll assure you, it'll be somebody with some authority or with some political clout that gets to do that. How would you like today to hand the King James Version Bible over to someone, or the scrolls and tablets or whatever, and have them to translate it, new translation? A government more than likely will have their hands in it, I'll assure you. And they would alter and change things to fit their narrative. They're not thinking of you and your soul. They're thinking of how they can suppress someone, or how that they can put the fear in someone and make someone submissive to them. That's what I would be afraid of. But anyway, just like I say, I learned a long time ago, when you find the truth, seek no further truth. I found it in the King James Version Bible. I use the Authorized King James. Now, there's people out here that teach out of the New King James Version, and I'll agree, the New King James Version, I've looked at all of them over the years, and I've owned several different English Standard Version, NIV, and I found out about the NIV. I've seen a lot of people early in my time using the NIV. Well, I got to do a little research on the NIV. That thing, I mean, it's a perversion. There you go, a perversion of the real McCoy, as far as I'm concerned. I can't say original, but you know, I can say as close to it as probably you'll find, without being things in it completely omitted, left out, words, altered words from virgin to young lady. I mean, if you talk about a young woman having a baby, well, that could be, you know, that's just a young woman having a baby. If you talk about a virgin birth, or a virgin having a child, they should catch your attention. But a lot of them change that. That takes away the supernatural part of it. And that's exactly what it seems to me like a lot of them try to do. Brother Duke at Rough Cut Homestead, he's doing some videos on the different translations and versions of the Bible. He's right on par. He knows exactly the deal. He knows exactly what's going on. And of course, it's good that he's doing that, because it gets people to thinking. If he wasn't probably doing that, I wouldn't probably be sitting here talking about it right now. It's good. You think a lot of times that you're not doing no good, but somebody listens. And if you can help one person line their path out into a straight path, you want to get them off this big, wide, broad path. They need to be on the narrow path, a pressing way. That's the path. And you know, the reason it's so wide, because if you try to do something biblical and speaking for the Lord, then people's going to, oh, that big wide path, you'll start catching it from all them. Oh, Lord have mercy. You get on this narrow path, and a lot of times you'll find out that it's like being out here in the woods. I don't see nobody else around. On that narrow path, sometimes it seems like a lonesome path. Well, let me tell you, it ain't lonesome, and it's the right trail to be on, if that makes any sense at all. I'm not a preacher. Probably wouldn't be a very good teacher. I see a distraction down there, and it's called a squirrel. There's always something that'll be cast in front of you to distract you when you're trying to talk about something. Just don't look at it. Be like this talking about blinders on. I used to say a lot of times, you know, I've said, I don't know whether to get into that or not, but let's just put it this way. I've said a lot of times when people go to church, they need to have a big set of blinders on the side of their head like a mule, where they can't see but straight forward. They don't need to know what's going on over here, and they don't need to know what's going on over here. Of course, the way it is today, you better have eyes in the back of your head. The world's getting worse. It's getting worse. It's getting more corrupt daily. The Bible, prophecy today, is fulfilling itself daily. I've heard people all my life say, one of these days it'll do this, and one of these days this will happen. One of these days there'll be a great earthquake. One of these days, the earthquakes there'll be more earthquakes and there'll be storms and all that stuff. Well, let me tell you something. You need to leave one of these days out now, because it's here. It's happening as we're sitting here. My advice to anyone is to study the Bible and try to understand and find out who Jesus Christ is, what He done for you, and what will happen without Him to you. That's all I'm going to say. Maybe. I might say something else. You never know. You know, I've thought for years, but I always thought with all these satellites that's in the air, Musk putting up in the air satellites, and there's thousands, I guess, up there, thousands, that when we talked on a telephone, I mean, years ago, there used to be a delay. If you talked to someone in another country, there was a little delay. You had to give it a few seconds before your voice would go and come. Well, today, it's true, real to life. I mean, instant practically. When you're speaking, I mean, they're hearing you, and when they speak, I mean, there's no delay there. I always thought that satellites and all that stuff, I thought that's what the satellites done, is relayed the messages. I don't understand it. I don't know. To a certain degree, I still say it does. I'm going to say the satellites is up there for entertainment and for government functions. That's what I'm going to say they're really there for. I find out that, and of course I'd heard rumors of this, what I'm fixing to say, about cables, underwater cables running all over the world from country to country, undersea. I would assume, and I don't know, I would assume it's fiber optics. I don't know. Has your internet ever went out? Have you ever lost service to the internet? You get up and you thought, well, I'm going to go in there to the computer and I'm going to look something up. I'm going to sit there and do a little research, and I'm going to get on there and order something from Amazon or somewhere and have it shipped to me. You get to the internet and it's dead as a doornail. Well, why don't you go ahead and fix your chainsaw, or fix your lawnmower, or fix your boat motor, or fix your jet engine, or whatever you're working on, and without even going to the internet to start with? Because the world of information is on that internet, and it's practically right there for anybody to glean what they will. So when you go and your internet's down and all at once it's there, why don't you go ahead and fix your lawnmower and stuff? Why don't you go ahead and overhaul your motor or whatever you're doing? Did you ever think that what if it don't come back on? I'll tell you what, we'll go from a country of brilliant minds to a bunch of complete idiots overnight one of these days when that internet goes down, and me included. If that internet goes out, so does about 85% of your mind, your ability to do things, because it's always there and people take it for granted. If we have a war, and we will, but if they take down our internet service, which basically, that's why the satellites, I think, is up there. If they take that down and destroy our ability to log on and get onto the internet, and I'm talking not myself, I'm talking about hospitals, I'm talking about power companies, water companies, I'm talking about military, I'm talking about airlines. You know, I was down here and I got a load of stuff in one day. fencing material. And I asked the driver, I said, how do you, what kind of map do you use? I wasn't thinking. When I drove a truck years ago, we ran McNally Trucker's Atlas. That's what I used. You had to buy them. They wasn't cheap. And of course you had to buy updated whenever so often because they'd change roads or whatever. And I said, you got a Trucker's Atlas in there? And he said, no. I said, well, how do you find your way around? He held his cell phone up. I said, what if your cell service goes out? And he said, well, I said, my advice to you is buy you a Trucker's Atlas. Put it in your satchel. And I said, if something happens to your phone, you've got that Trucker's Atlas. But I wonder if they even would know how to read one. I mean, if you don't use it, you don't know. Anyway, if that line gets cut, and I understand the way I understand it, that the majority of information goes through that under the ocean, under the sea cables. We're going to take a few back steps. So I told my son the other day, I said, there's all kind of ebooks and stuff that you can download. And I said, if you've got to get you a external SD, little external 2 terabytes or 4 terabyte SD external drive. And I said, organize stuff, alphabetize or whatever your stuff you put in there. And I said, download every ebook that you can find, whether it's interesting to you, anything, how to fix a refrigerator, how to fix this, how to fix a lawnmower, how to do this, whatever that you can get by the tons. Just fill that SD card completely up. And if the internet was to ever go down and stay down, then you can pop that little external hard drive and just keep right on trucking. You'll have tons of information. You can have more information for yourself by doing that than you could write with your pencil in probably a lifetime. Just by clicking and downloading, clicking, downloading, clicking, downloading, clicking, downloading, making sure it's stored on that little external SD card. SSD, solid state device, or whatever it's called, SSD. Solid state drive, I guess is what it is. I don't know. I've got 3 of them. And I've got a lot of them old books and stuff that I've downloaded over the years and stuff. And you think, well, honeybees, how to grow a garden, whatever. You're building a library. And a smart person would have 2 of them. Everything that's on this one would be on this one. In case this one crashed or went out, get a backup. I never could just talk about one thing. I'll jump like a jackrabbit from one path to the other. We're worrying about using this to keep the mosquitoes from sucking your blood. And the best thing to do while you're doing this is to keep in mind who shed their blood to keep you out of a hot, hot place. So a good idea might be to do a little research on that man. Yes, sir. What's this called? This is called a thermosale. And the other part's called the Holy Bible, King James Version. Okay, that'll be it.